Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here, as always, joined by Thomas. Today, we're talking about Baz Luhrmann's latest feature, his first since The Great Gatsby in 2013, that
Long
being
time.
Elvis, starring Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. Thomas, you just saw this movie today. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
So my overall thoughts are: I think this is a film that has some nice elements, but is derailed by a fair few. Most notably, Tom Hanks's
Yeah,
character.
Tom Hanks is
Now, if you
pretty bad.
don't, yeah, if you, and it's not just that. If you don't know going in, the film is sort of centered around Tom Hanks's character. He is the sort of lens into the story, and if you are not on board with the character, that is quite a big problem. And I definitely wasn't on board with the character. I think he's way too cartoonish. He's just
Yeah,
not a fit for this movie. Tom Hanks, he's a great actor, but I don't really know what he was doing in this one. I
yeah.
didn't think it was as bad as Jared Leto. I
It's
think
close.
it's close, 100%, but I think Jared Leto was completely off the charts.
Yeah,
I
no, I
don't think,
agree.
much good, compared to that. But yeah, I don't think that's the only element that derails. I also think Baz Luhrmann is a director that needs to be told no sometimes. Same problems I had with Romeo and Juliet, same problems I had with The Great Gatsby.
Yep.
He makes very flashy films, and which is a good thing. Like, he's a distinctive director. He's an interesting director. He's certainly a director I wouldn't say I dislike, but I don't know if his movies all that work.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is just another one of those very Lermany films that just needs to be toned down a bit. And I'm sure if it was toned down a bit, it would have been like 100 times better. But it's going for something. What it's going for doesn't always work. But that is what it is. And finally, obviously, I mean, everyone's already said it, but Austin Butler,
Austin Butler.
he's great. He is phenomenal. It could happen. He could win Best Actor, and I would not be too angry about it.
Yeah, he
It's
at
a
least
genuine
isn't Rami
possibility.
Malek. He at least isn't
Yeah,
Rami Malek.
I think they're both good, but yeah,
Comparatively to Bohemian Rhapsody, though, I honestly think that like this is leagues above it. Not a huge fan of Bohemian Rhapsody.
no,
And I at least enjoyed this movie. Similarly, I don't even know why Tom Hanks' character was there. Like, first of all, his performance pretty bad. The makeup work was
yeah,
fine. It was a
I thought it
bit
was a bit
dodgy at
dodgy, if
points.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Also,
especially when it's all lighted on, like he's
yeah,
invisible. Yeah, it
I
was just
agree.
like okay, but
Looked very like foamy. I don't even know why this film centered around his character. Like, what did we gain as an audience from seeing the film through the Colonel's point of view?
no,
Like,
but yeah.
I don't know. I think there's
Like, I
also a
guess
large.
it's being just a completely generic biopic, but
I
it doesn't
guess.
do much. No, I
And
would
like, here's
agree.
the thing. I appreciate the swings. Like with Baz Luhrmann style, I'm not a huge Baz fan. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of Romeo and Juliet, Great Gatsby. Like
No,
I
yeah,
I think they're all meh. I think all of them, much like this movie, is mostly saved by performance.
yeah,
Because like I respect Baz Luhrmann, it doesn't entirely work for me. And I appreciate a lot of like more out there cinema. I just appreciate when if you're gonna do like weird editing choices, have it be for a purpose rather than this where it just is like I'm quirky
yeah,
and we're like, "Oh, but why?" It felt like a psychedelic trip at point. Like it just like in it's some insane editing choices done with this.
yeah, yeah.
Like I think over half of the movie is a montage.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that hyperbolic to say, I know.
Yeah. But speaking of the editing, like the pacing of this is really weird because it almost feels like two separate movies between like his rise to fame and then his residency in Vegas. And those feel like they could have been two completely separate films. Well, I think the rise to fame was like a lot more like fun to watch, I guess, because it was like da da da, he's doing all this cool
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And then like we just skip like 5 years and 2 minutes.
yeah.
Also love completely passing over the fact that he was 24 and Priscilla was 14 when they started dating.
Really? I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
yep,
Okay.
because they completely gloss
That,
over it in the movie.
they
But
definitely
anyways,
do.
when
Yeah,
they're in the
yeah,
bedroom alone,
yeah.
in the film, Elvis was 24 and Priscilla
No,
was 14. So
no, not mentioned at all.
that's also a thing that they were just like, don't need to talk about that. But I thought that all of the Vegas residency stuff was a lot more compelling, and like we could have dove a bit further into Elvis as a person and what made him the way that he was, and like because like we kind of dive into his flaws, but not fully. And I think we really could have fleshed out a lot of the problems with him as a person, but also all the things that were great about. Just simply
Yeah.
with his conflict with the Colonel at the Vegas residency, and told
Yeah.
from Elvis's perspective rather than humanizing the Colonel.
No, I completely agree about the Vegas stuff being the more compelling aspect. I think I was worried it was just going to be very derivative. Like when they started introducing the drug addiction elements, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
really? Another story about a pop
Yep.
star? Yeah. But then actually, it did switch when he went to
Mhm.
Vegas, and it became about sort of the worries of like Hollywood manipulation and that kind of stuff. And that
Right.
was actually
And the
very interesting. Like, I
reclaiming
get
of his
why.
career.
Yeah, exactly. I get why the Colonel was part of the story in that regard. Like he did
Yeah.
serve an important aspect. I just don't know why it chose to base around him,
Right. Right.
like the perspective.
And
That didn't
essentially
make
make
sense.
him the
But
main character. Like it
yeah,
almost felt like they wanted to do like A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, where like Mr. Rogers is like the supporting character, and it's actually
yeah,
focusing on this report. Like, but then they're also like, well, Austin Butler's too good, so we kind of have to give him like screen time to be a lead. So then there's this weird balance that
yeah,
doesn't always tonally work.
yeah.
Um,
So I think
so
Austin Butler, like even though the film is long and he does get a lot of screen time, he almost feels a little underused in this, which is
yeah,
a real
yeah,
shame. Which is a
I
real
know.
shame because he was brilliant. But yeah, if he like it's a couple changes and it would have been really quite good. I think
Honestly,
switching the perspective to Austin Butler would have been like 100 times better.
yeah. Oh, I 100% agree. But honestly, every performer felt kind of underused except for Tom Hanks. Like
Yeah,
I feel like he overstayed his welcome. But like the actress who portrayed Priscilla, I cannot remember her name. But also like the mom and dad, as well as like all of his band members. Like there's so many characters that are just like kind of introduced, and a couple of them have like very big things that influence major career decisions for Elvis that we see for maybe like five.
yeah,
And I would have loved to have like fully fleshed out a lot of that. And like if you said like cut out his rise to fame, like we don't, much like we don't
yeah.
need to see how, we don't need to see Uncle Ben's death at the start
No,
of every Spider-Man movie. We don't need to see how Elvis rose to fame. We know that he's famous. So I feel like if we just focus on Elvis is famous, he's at Vegas, right? And you can cut out all of the opening. You can still have a 2.5 hour long film, but actually fully dive into everything from the
yeah.
perspective of Elvis Presley. I
Yeah,
feel like
and you
that
could
goes
even
like
have like the rise to fame, but as told of like a montage because he loves montages. So that could just been
I know
one
that could be like
montage.
15-minute
That could
montage.
be a montage, and then get to the more interesting stuff. Like, not that the rise to fame isn't interesting. I just think it takes up screen time that
It's
it
fun,
doesn't
but like
it
we
doesn't
don't
deserve. No.
need it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Like we got some great performance moments from us, and that's about it. I don't
yeah,
think it contributed that much narratively, but we could have gotten those performance moments in Vegas
yeah,
and through
yeah,
montages. So like I don't know. But like we seem like we're like negative on this, and like I had fun with this movie. Like it feels both longer and shorter than its runtime because like it's a very fun and energetic movie, but it's also incredibly exhausting because it feels like you're reading a Wikipedia article for 3 hours. So like I don't know. I still had a
yeah,
lot of fun with it, and if we have to keep on getting musical biopics, let's get more like this rather than Bohemian Rhapsody or Respect. Like let's actually, let's let auteurs like just try something. Just like there was that era in the 80s where we had like these auteur directors like do, Broadway musical adaptations with like Sidney Lumet's The Wiz, John Huston's Annie. Like doing that, but like let auteurs do musical biopics. They can inject their own style into it. They can provide an energy and make it a lot less stale.
yeah. No, 100%, 100%. Like, this is definitely more on the vein of like Rocket Man than Bohemian Rhapsody. And if you don't want a generic biopic, I don't think you'll find it here. However, like I do think there are some significant problems
Oh
with
yeah.
this film that do detract a fair bit from it, but it's not terrible. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty watchable.
It is a very watchable film. Just could have been plotted a bit better. But I mean,
Yeah,
Austin Butler, come on. I would watch this
yeah,
movie again
exactly.
just for Austin Butler.
Yeah,
What do we film for a rating before we get into Oscars?
I'd probably go a 6 out of 10, leaning more towards
I'm
6.5. Yeah,
I agree with you. I'm at a 6 leaning towards 6.5. I enjoyed this movie. It isn't going to end up in my top 10 of the year. But I
no,
had
no.
fun. I had fun, and Austin Butler is probably in my top 3 performances of the year so far. I thought that he was
I'd
so
say he's probably my favorite actually. Like,
really,
yeah,
really, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's particularly a scene at the end of the film where he is in prosthetics, and the scene started, and I was like, oh, this is archival footage. Got it. And then they showed the actual archival footage. It was like, wait, it was
yeah.
really, really stunning. But yeah, so speaking of makeup, let's talk about Oscars, because obviously we're talking about Austin Butler. He could. I mean, let's be honest. Rami Malek. We could have a repeat, and I would prefer this win to Rami Malek. In all honesty.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it's
bare
going to be
minimum-
tough. It's going to be tough because there is a fair few actors who are lined up to be in pretty substantial roles. But yeah, I definitely put him in.
Jackman. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I definitely
think
put him
at bare
in.
minimum, like I don't know if there's any way Austin Butler doesn't pick up a nomination here.
No.
And then we'll see if he can take home the win. So with that out of the way, Tom Hanks isn't happening.
No.
Like
no.
He
won't. If Jared Leto didn't happen, he won't happen.
Yeah, this isn't happening. Thank God. I don't think like something like editing will happen, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Unless they really want to go, but I think there's enough. Like
If
they've
this
got
gets
everything
picture,
everywhere all at once.
This gets picture, Elvis is getting edited. If
Yeah,
Elvis
yeah,
gets
but like,
picture, and I think picture is a possibility. I honestly do.
It's a possibility. I don't know if we'll have for legs. I think it may run out of steam a bit because if people are watching it really only for Austin Butler, I don't know if that will carry into a picture.
Think about this. Bohemian Rhapsody got in off of actor, sound, and editing. If this gets actor, sound, and editing, plus you throw in like costumes or production design, which I think the costumes and makeup are very real possibilities.
I think costumes and makeup, are very real. I probably would have them in at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a couple that drop out that they're not solidly in, but I think makeup is fairly a strong pick at this point, even though, as you said, it's a bit dodgy.
Makeup isn't that strong this year. Makeup isn't
exactly.
Strong. So
you got currently like the Batman. That's the strongest one, and I don't know, but
no, like makeup and hair, costumes, sound.
Sound could happen. I'd be a bit more hesitant to put sound in. Picture could happen.
Like,
but
imagine if you pair sound with editing. That's 5 noms.
Yeah.
It's more than Bohemian Rhapsody got. If this is a box office hit, we'll see. It picked up like $50 million opening weekend. Not bad at all. But I think the floor for this film is probably actor and then like makeup or costumes. I think bare minimum this will get. I think actor and makeup makes sense. Like the makeup winners for the past 4 or 5 years has been an acting nominee for a biopic. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the one. Because they do a lot of makeup and hair work to age him, and it's done fairly well. So I think actor, makeup, and then maybe we throw in costumes, sound, editing, even picture once we get up to ceiling. This was about what I was expecting for this film, and about I think this is going to be about a good of Oscars potential we could be looking at for it. And I wouldn't hate to see this getting nominated by the end of the year.
No, a couple nominations here and there. Like I don't know if I'd be overly happy of it getting into picture. I don't think it is the best picture, but it wouldn't make me mad. But I definitely think other things would be more deserving.
Absolutely. But overall, I think it's safe to say that we both didn't hate this movie. We enjoyed this film. And I mean, just go see it for Austin Butler. Like honestly, the hype is very, very real for Austin Butler. I mean, I can't wait to see what he does in Dune Part 2 now. He's playing a villain. So absolutely. Give this man everything. Yeah. But
he deserves to blow up. His career deserves
He deserves it. He deserves it. But thank you everybody so much for watching. That is the end of the review. We will have plenty of stuff coming soon. You can find us in different places in the links in the description. And until next time.